Hello, and today I'm going to be discussing the short I made, comparing Jax and Gojo. Now, there's a few things I'd like you guys to understand. First of all, I am massively downplaying Gojo and even getting rid of his Infinity and Domain expansion. All because I want this fight to be mildly fair, at the absolute most. And second of all, I'm glazing the frick out of Jax. So let's get into the scaling and all that. Starting off, let's go with Gojo scaling because remember, I'm going a low ball, so there is this one feat in Jujutsu Kaisen where Gojo just straight up destroys a massive building, which was calculated to be at around 88.6 kilotons of TNT. Around that much, putting him at the city block level ranges, at least. So, that's the scaling we're using, city block. And now, going for speed, a low ball for the entire Jujutsu Kaisen verse would be Mach 3, but since Gojo is just massively above his own verse, along with Sukuna, we could say solidly that he should be at Mach 3 to 4 in this fight. And in terms of intelligence, Gojo has high interpersonal intelligence because he could easily identify the higher-ups' goals, and motives, just because of one order they made for a couple first years, which puts him around gifted to genius level intellect, depending on how you want to interpret it. And he also has a really high battle IQ, so gifted to genius, depending on how high you want him to be in terms of intelligence. Now, moving on to Jax. Now, in terms of Jax's scaling, or since we're highballing him, let's scale him above Pomni. And yes, he has shown that he's above Pomni physically speaking. He struck Pomni down with no effort in a short. He's also thrown her out of a vehicle with no or little effort. So yeah, Jax is above Pomni. So now scaling Pomni, in episode 2, she holds 2 trucks together by herself, which requires around 0.1616 tons of TNT. And Jax, and this is just the higher end of Pomni scaling, like a higher end of small building, and Jax is above her massively in this fight, so he should be at least very low building to building level in terms of AP, and in form of speed, Jax in the pilot episode creates a smoke silhouette of himself, which, depending on who you ask, requires 150 to 520 meters per second, or subsonic to supersonic plus. And then in terms of reaction combat speeds, Jax pretty casually reacts to bullets in episode 6, just multiple times, including in the dark, which I've calculated to be from anywhere from subsonic to supersonic plus. And in terms of intelligence, Jax in the pilot episode, his goal when he's around King and Gangle, in this case, is to not let them know about Kafumo's abstraction. So when he hears Kafumo is coming, he stops them from getting to see abstracted Kafumo by throwing a bowling ball at them, and then jumping down with them. This distracts them and puts them further ahead in terms of the adventure. And in episode 2, he makes a deal with the Gloink Queen with a key. And no, not the Gloink Queen, the Fudge Monster, whatever thing. And he makes a deal with it so it could cause chaos. Let's remember, his goal is to cause chaos and mess with the others. Now, these 2 feats could be scaled around gifted in that area. But then, during the award competitions or whatever, where people were voting, it was essentially a popularity contest. In his video, Jack states that or implies that he has an internet connection by knowing about the pictures his fans have been drawing of him, which not only is wild, but suggests he has an internet connection in a place that's not meant to have an internet connection, which would require a lot of skill. He also essentially discovered TADC's power system or something. This could be gifted to proto-genius level intellect, depending on how you want to interpret it, the TADC's power system. You could also just magically create keys, so I'd interpret it higher end too, just on a whim. Kind of like how Kinger could create bugs. So, in terms of intelligence for Jax, he manages to reach from the gifted to proto-genius levels of intellect on a high end. So, now that we've got both of their scaling out of the way, let's discuss each of their win conditions. And for Jax, he really only has one. Punch Gojo to death, assuming he hits Gojo every single attempt, which is very unlikely. Now, in regards for Gojo, Satoru Gojo's win conditions in this fight are, first of all, he could just wait till Jax abstracts, because Jax is pretty close to that as shown in episode 6, and Jax's panic attack, essentially. So Gojo could just wait till Jax abstracts and then report Jax to Kane, but if you want to assume he can't, he could also just shrivel Jax up into a ball using blue, blast Jax away, knocking him out with red. Like, this isn't a fight to the death. There are multiple win conditions for Gojo, and literally only one for Jax. One unlikely one for Jax, and multiple likely ones for Gojo. Gojo wins low to mid death in this version of the fight. If you want to see me put Jax up against a highballed Gojo and bully the fuck out of Jax, go ahead and comment that down below. And until then, see ya!